So on this channel, I'm super motivated about making money and teaching you how to invest it, grow your wealth, so eventually you're rich or financially free or whatever your goal might be. And something that I'm super passionate about, which has helped me grow my wealth, is side hustles. Now, believe it or not, I had my first website at the age of 16, and next month I'm going to be 32, so that actually means I've been trying online side hustles and side hustles in general for 16 years. And when I think back, there was one side hustle that massively outweighed anything else I've ever done, and I was able to make $7,000 in one day. Now, before I tell you what the side hustle is, I know you're going to be thinking, if it was so great, why are you sharing it with us? Why don't you just keep doing it? Well, actually, I did it a few more times. My first time doing it, I made $3,000 in a day. I had a $5,000 day and a couple of $1,500 days. So it was really nice while it lasted, but unfortunately, I had to stop it. Those reasons I won't go into today because it's a really long story, but while it worked, it was fantastic. And the reason I think this is so good is because in today's world, everybody's so caught up with being the next influencer, having this kind of magic Facebook, Amazon, Shopify business where they just drop ship, they sit at home, they click one button and they're literally making thousands overnight. It's just not kind of a reality. This idea I'm going to mention today is something I think everybody can do, and it's actually really easy. And there's no real excuse why anybody can't do it. All you're going to need is a little bit of money to start up, not millions, just some money to buy stock in the first place. So what was the business? Well, it was a little store selling jewellery. And that might sound crazy. Why would people want to spend so much money on jewellery? And how did you do it? Well, luckily, this did kind of fall into place for me. It all started when I was younger and I saw a show called The Vampire Diaries. Now, for those of you who know what that is, you might think, oh my days, why are you watching The Vampire Diaries? But I was young, guys. But anyway, in that show, there was a specific necklace that the girl wore, and I thought, where can I buy that? I wanted to buy a version for my girlfriend and I couldn't at the time, so I thought, well, there must be more people that want to buy these. So I thought, well, can I get that made? So what I did is contact suppliers in China. I then got that product made and I actually went on from there to cover a range of different shows. So I had a product I was selling online. I'd never done an event in my life. Now from there, I had some friends that ran an event and I thought, well, why don't I see if I can get a stall at this event and see if it works or not. Now the reason I love this business and I would love to do it again, although at the moment I'm really trying to put my time into YouTube, but I definitely think about doing this on the side, maybe just on a weekend, is that it was such a nice thing to do. From having experience running online businesses and in-person businesses, it's actually super nice to meet people and talk to them. So typically on the day, you get your stuff ready, you arrive before everybody else, you set up your table, people come in and literally from start to finish, you're talking to people, interacting with them and able to sell person to person. And I found that really good because I was able to build my confidence skills as well as my selling skills. And in general, it's just really nice to have that level of interaction with people. And just think how many events there are around the country. You've got Christmas markets, you've got markets for different crafts, you've got markets up and down the country doing different things, and there's so many products that you could sell. It does take a bit of confidence and you have to put yourself out there, but if you're feeling shy and you don't feel like you can do it, but I'd encourage you, because I think it's one of the best things you can do, even if you don't plan to do it long term, you can take those skills into a different business. So let's talk about the event and why it was so perfect for my brand. Well, the event was actually a Comic-Con. Now, for those of you who might think, what the hell's a Comic-Con? Well, it's actually an event that is mostly supposed to be based around comics, but it also includes lots of TV shows and movies. So I had jewellery from TV shows and movies. So the event slotted in perfectly with my product. People like to do cosplay at these events, dress up as their favourite characters, they're super passionate, and it's just a really fun day all around. Now the event was quite perfect for me. Because they were in the beginning stages, people were queuing for a long time to get into the event. For those of you who haven't read it, this book called Oversubscribed is actually one of the best books I've ever read. And this kind of plays into this factor. So there's a concept mentioned in the book which I think is fantastic, which is something I've always believed in. So picture this, you've got two designer clothes shops. One, the doors are open, everybody can go in, it's overcrowded and it's not a very good buying experience. The second clothes shop, there's a queue to get in and they're only letting a select amount of people in per time. You often see this with shops like Ralph Lauren and Pandora. But what this actually does is when people get into the shop, they're more inclined to buy. Because they've had to queue up and put that effort in, they're already invested in the process. So by the time they get in, they're really ready to buy and get that item they really want. And they want to come away with an item to justify the time they've wasted. So that kind of setup is going to generate a lot more sales than one where you can just come in and have a free-for-all. It might be overcrowded, it's not a nice shopping experience, and it doesn't create that sense of urgency. So this was the same kind of thing with the event. Because people had to queue for maybe an hour or 2 hours to get in, which was To be honest, a bit ridiculous for the event, but they've managed to sort it out now. But people were queuing, and when they got in, they were really inclined to buy. And inside there were celebrities for some really popular shows, things like Game of Thrones, there were Harry Potter stars, there was someone there from Fawlty Towers, which is a kind of popular show in the UK, and they had different things within there. So they had some fantastic people in there. They had the guy that illustrated The Walking Dead. He was doing free illustrations, and the queue for him was absolutely astronomical. But these celebrities really brought people to the events, and the celebrities at these events make an absolute fortune. They pay for a signature, and believe it or not, they were actually charging for a selfie. You were supposed to pay for a paid photo shoot, but they started charging for selfies, and that's literally, yeah, selfie, thank you, $35. So actually these events are crazy, but they're a really fun time. And the fantastic thing about my product, when people saw it, they were like, oh my god, it's the ring! It's the ring from Lord of the Rings, it's the wand from Harry Potter, it's the necklace from this show, and people just absolutely loved it. So they would buy that product and they would go on to buy 1 or 2 or 3. Then what I was able to do from there is kind of create deals that would help me sell more product. So my cost price was generally between $3 to $5 or $7, which was actually fantastic. And I could sell that for about $15 to maybe $25 per piece. And then I would do deals, so they get a discount if they buy 2 or 3, etc. And the great thing about jewelry, for example, because it's so small, you get a box about this big and you could literally fit maybe 100 in it and just stack them on top of each other. So I was able to bring a lot of jewelry to the event. So it's safe to say my profit margins were pretty amazing. Now, believe it or not, which you might find crazy, I actually wasn't the busiest stall on the day. There was people that were definitely making a lot more money than me. People who did food were absolutely cleaning it up, and they didn't even have to pay to be there because they didn't have the license to charge them. I didn't pay an awful lot for the table. I think it was about $150 or $200. But if you were going to do a smaller event, you're not going to even have to pay that much for a table. Some of these small ones in a local business are going to charge you about $10 to $20. You're not taking as much risk, and you don't have to make that huge profit to make it viable. So just think, in a local event, how many different ideas are there? What could you sell? What could you do? Because there's plenty of ideas. If I sat down, I could easily plan 10 or 20 different ideas that I could sell at these events. From there, I went on to expand the business. I had Etsy, my own website, I sold on eBay, and I did really well and turned it into a really good online business. But I'll share more detail later how I did this whole thing, how I went through the setup, finding the products, finding the supplier. So if you're interested in doing this yourself, please subscribe and stick around for that. And the important thing you need to take away from this video, of course, what did I do with all that money? Well, I invested it. So the $7,000 I made, yes, I paid tax, but then I invested it. So after tax, I ended up with $5,000. By now, that $5,000 is probably worth $8,000 or $9,000. That's why investing is so important. So if you're looking to start your own side hustle, this is really great and it's really fun to do, and I'd recommend it to anybody. There's no reason you can't do it, so there's no excuse. Find a product, find an event, and go and sell. If you've got any more questions about the side hustle, please let me know in the comments down below. I'll be mentioning how I did this, the whole process, step by step in a later video, as well as covering loads more side hustles. In 16 years, I've pretty much done every side hustle there is to do, so I'm going to be sharing some honest truths and letting you know which ones actually work and which ones are a load of. So as always guys, smash that like button, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. 'Cause I just wanna see the light.